Holy smokes, you guys. Welcome back to the Explain It podcast. It is 2025, and we are your hosts. I'm Stephen Hunt.
And I'm Ingryd Hernandez.
And welcome, and thank you so much for joining us, for everybody that's here. It's a new year, which means it's new me. I think that's what they say.
I think that's what they say.
Yeah. So we are going to get this kicked off. It's been a minute, you guys. It's been probably the past, 2 or 3 that we
didn't do the last two.
The last 2 because we had Christmas and we had New Year's. So thank you guys for your patience. I know you've all been on the edge of your seats. Anyway, we have a phenomenal guest. He has been on the Explain It podcast before, and we're so excited to have him back. I was not with the Explain It podcast at that time, so this is going to be all brand new information for me, luckily. But without further ado, let's welcome the amazing, the great Matthew Potter.
No one hotter in short sales.
What's going on, guys? Thanks for having me here. I appreciate it tremendously. And to your point, Stephen, new year, new me. I can guarantee you that's not going to work for me. Same year or new year, same me. That's just how I'm going to roll.
Love it.
Ooh,
I love that.
I love being a contrarian. Can I push back on that?
Feel free to.
I never want to be the same Ingryd because I always expect that I'm gaining new skills. I'm creating better habits. I maybe have some not so great habits that I have to work on, but I always want to be a better Ingryd, even if it's just incremental. Maybe it's just 1% that year. That's okay. It was incremental. So I will challenge you, Mr. Potter. Mr. Potter.
Yeah. Mr. I have it all figured out.
I can assure you nobody will say that I have it all figured out.
I know.
I assure you of that.
We're only playing. We're only having fun here. Thank you so much for joining us, though.
Absolutely.
So for those viewers that don't know who you are, could you give us a little breakdown, show us a little bit about your history, how you got to where you're at, all that kind of good stuff?
So I'll give you the short abridged version. Back in 2007, I was graduating from Arizona State with a realty studies degree. And at the time I had an internship for a large land developer out here. They were doing multiple projects. And literally the day I graduated was the day that the financial market kind of started to collapse on their side. And they said, hey, congratulations on graduating. By the way, we're not hiring you. You're on your own. Best of luck. And I was like, oh, this sucks. Because, I got mortgage payment. I have car payment. I got all the bills are due. So one of the people that I graduated with, she happens to call me up about a week later. And she says, hey, you need to come interview at this company. I think you'll do great here. She's like, you love to argue with people. You're going to do fantastic. And I was like, look, I don't even know what this is. But at this point, I'm in. Sure. So I went, I had an interview. I was hired on the spot. The COO hired me. And then literally 5 minutes later, I was like, what do we even do here? And they're like, well, we negotiate short sales. I'm like, what the hell is a short sale? Like, I didn't know. Like so many other people, I had no idea what it was. So he said, just show up on Tuesday. We'll figure it out from there. So I showed up. They end up putting me in a cubicle. They give me like 80 files. And they're like, here you go. Have a great day. I ended up figuring it out within about a month. I got like 5 of them approved. And I was like, wow, all right, this isn't so bad. Like I'm feeling good about this. So then what happened from there was they ended up shutting the company down. My now wife, who at the time was my closer there, that was before we were together. I'd like to go ahead and clarify that.
Yeah, not a side chick yet.
Yeah. So she and I, one night, we were sitting there and we were like, why don't we just go do this on our own? There's no reason that we can't. Between her and I, we accounted for 96% of that company's revenue.
Wow.
So we were like, we already know what the revenue numbers are as long as we continue to provide the service. So we branched out on our own, and that's when it exploded for us. We ended up doing thousands of transactions and doing them all 50 states, all over the place. And then obviously market improved some. So a lot of people stepped out of the short sale game, and we stayed true to it. And this was what I was talking about at the beginning with, new year, same me. I've been doing short sales since 2007. I will never stop. I did them in 2020, 2021, 2022, and people were like, there's no way there's short sales. Still did them. I'll continue to do them until, honestly, I don't know. I'm retired, I guess. Even then, I'll probably still do them. So we've just continued on that progression, and like we branched off and did our own thing, ended up getting licensed because the Department of Real Estate was like, yo, we really want you guys to get licensed. So we did that, took it to a new level, ended up at our brokerage that we're at now with Ingryd.
Let's go.
Hey,
shameless plug.
Yeah.
But that's been 18 years now. 18 years of my life right there is it's now an adult. My short sale business is now an adult.
That's so awesome.
That's wild.
That's a great story.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you didn't really know anything about short sales until 2007. And just like most Americans, that they quickly got their education in what a short sale was. My mom did. That's how I learned what a short sale was when my mom lost her house in 07, 08. And
Me
that
too.
whole situation. Oh,
I
look
went
at
through a short
that.
sale. 2010, baby.
So it's so awesome what you're doing. And I love that you clarified too. You said, hey, yeah, not the same year, new me situation. We're still doing what we were doing. I'm sure in the same breath too, you're improving upon what you're doing, but you're taking that same strategy and you're doubling down on that strategy. You're continuing to push that strategy forward and forward and forward. And it's made you really the leader, definitely locally, if not nationally, in the space of short sales, which is, oh my gosh, like so admirable. So awesome.
Matthew, has anyone across this nation done more short sales than you?
Not that I'm aware of. Then again, I mean, I don't know, but not that I'm aware of. I know
That's
that
right.
there's
That's right.
I know there's other people out there that do them. I also know there's a lot of people over the last couple months that are no longer doing them. And we've taken kind of a good amount of that business on, and we've learned really quickly. It's one of those things like, Ingryd, you and I have had these conversations numerous times where you're like, dude, you are like so black and white with this. It's not even funny. I will tell you, this is the way to do it. This is the proper way to do it. This is the way where you can get an expected result and be in a good spot. This is one of those situations, in my opinion, you're not going to cut any corners. You're going to do it the right way, but by doing it the right way, you are going to have a lot of opportunities, a ton of opportunities.
I love that. I love that you keep it black and white though too, because you're saying this is how we do it, and it keeps your process the same every single time. I'm sure there's small variances, but at least you know what to expect every single time, and you're setting that expectation on the front end for all the clients that you're working with. I think that's such a beautiful way of doing it. Whereas I see a lot of other entrepreneurs, people in real estate, outside of real estate, that they go for the money grab. They go for, hey, I can make cash here right now. Oh wait, oh no, I can do this right now. So I love that you stay true to the one thing and you set the expectation, and everybody knows they can rely on you, and you're the guy that gets it done.
Yeah. I do want to give him more props than that.
Yeah.
So in the grand umbrella of short sales, he's the man. And Nicole's the woman. So her pants look better on her. But
100%. Nobody will disagree with that.
But you have pivoted in other parts of your business when the market called for it. So I think there's a difference between understanding, have you matured the space that requires that maturity? You gave your all to short sales when it required it. When the market softened for short sales, you upped your ante in working with investors and even like highly commercialized investors. And you were the man in that space when that came back down and short sales are coming back up. So levers. Yeah. So I feel like Matt and Nicole do a really good job about understanding the landscape of the business and going all in where it requires it.
Gotcha.
And kind of but to your point, his first few years in this business was a singular lane. We are focused on short sales. And I had a young kid last night at Augie's meetup over in North Scottsdale. And he's like, what should I do? I could do this. I could do that. I go, pick one and do it for 90 days. And you can't say you can do anything else until day 91. On day 91, then you can say do something else. So anywho.
The best way that I hear that described is it's your hedgehog concept. It's the thing that you got to go all the way in on. And to your point, I mean, for me, it was super easy because back then, and I'm not going to sit there and say that I've never made a mistake in this business. Clearly that happens. It's part of growth. Back then, the way our short sale company was structured was it was the four of us that were processing. There was me, Nicole, Marissa, and then another business partner that we had at the time. And we had gone to the Department of Real Estate. We had gone to the Department of Financial Institutions. And both of them were like, well, we don't really know what umbrella you fall under. So like, just don't screw people over right now and you should be okay. And I'm like, dude, like, can I get any kind of guidance from you guys? Like we're literally trying to do things the right way. So to your point about that, Ingrid, especially me starting out, I only had a choice to do short sales and do them at a high level because I didn't carry a professional real estate license. I didn't carry a loan originator license at the time. I'm just this guy that knows how to put the deal together, but there's no real regulatory industry or oversight committee at that time. And then it was, wait, you need your loan originator license. So I got it. And then it was, wait, no, you don't. You need a real estate license. I'm like, okay, then pivot. Cool. We'll get this over here. And that's kind of how it was. And then to your point, once the market got a little bit better, we started to, I won't say ever shifted away from short sales, but it was, we knew we could add in our past short sale clients could now, potentially buy, or maybe they had a family member that needed to sell. So we assisted on that side and started, growing the business in that regard. And then, like you had said, Ingrid, when market went like this, we worked with several institutional investors. So like, yeah, that lever was pulled and we helped them buy a lot of houses. It is what it is. When all of a sudden interest rates shot up to, 6, 7, 8%, they were like, nah, we're cool. We're going to go ahead and pump the brakes. And it was, okay, we pull the lever for short sale business.
I love this story though. You have to tell Stephen, because I don't think he knows this story. Okay. How many transactions? I want you to guess. How many transactions do you think Matthew had in the pipe when he found out? And I think he even remembers the exact date when he found out the institutional buyers were no longer buying, and now he had to cancel a crap load of them. So I'm going to have Steven guess because it's fun. And if you guys are out there, I know we have people.
The thing is, he's done such crazy numbers, like 17,000 short sales. So it's like, I don't know what's even the range here. Okay, 577.
So not quite that high. So what happened I literally will never forget this. It was June 18th. It was 2 days before I was taking my entire family to the Virgin Islands for 10 days. I woke up at 5 a.m.
What year?
This was in 2022.
Okay.
I woke up at, I want to say probably 4:30, maybe 5 a.m. like I normally did. I worked during that time. I was working roughly 5 a.m. to midnight. I was existing on 5 hours of sleep, but I did a boatload of transactions. I did. I woke up and I rolled over and I looked at my phone and I saw a text message from my asset manager at one of the hedge funds. And I looked at it, and in the back of my mind, I know real estate. Like, I know real estate really, really, really at a high level. I already knew what this text message was. And I immediately looked at it and I just said, shit. I didn't even open it because I already knew. And I'm sorry if this is a PG-13 show. My apologies.
No. Please.
I looked at it. All it said was, call me when you're awake. I went outside. I took my dogs outside. I called him and he's like, and I'm like, I already know. What's the deal? I'm like, are they buying any of them? And he's like, no, we have to cancel them all off. And I was like, oh, okay. And what it was I had 87 transactions with that hedge fund, and I canceled every single one of them that day. They forfeited earnest money on every single one of them to the sellers. I had 4 that were closing that day. So like I had to call the agent, and I called every single one of the agents because I'm a huge proponent of relationships. You never want to burn relationships in this business.
Agreed.
And I called every single one of them and said, look, this is where it stands right now. I'm sorry. This is horrible news. I don't want to give this news, but this is just where it is. And everybody was cool except for one agent. And I won't even say he wasn't cool. He was just obviously frustrated. He's like, I'm going to get sued by this seller and it's all your fault. And I'm like, I can assure you I have nothing to do with the capital markets. But I'm like, if you want to sue me, I guess go ahead and sue me and my seller or my buyer, and we'll see what happens. And by the time it was all done, I got off the phone, and it's almost like I had this moment of clarity where like I'd been going 1,000 miles an hour for the better part of almost 2 years at that point. In that 2-year period, we closed over 1,400 transactions for our hedge funds.
Wow.
And that's
Right?
like, I mean, I'll be honest, in 2021, we only worked with them for 9 months that year, and we closed like 780 with them. It was something insane. And I took a step back, and my wife looked at me, and like, for anybody that knows my wife, or if you ever get to know my wife, like, she has the best like peace of mind on the planet. She's amazing. She looked at me and she was like, you know, it's all going to be okay, right? And I'm like, of course it's going to be okay. I've been preparing for this for the better part of 3 months. I already knew the market was coming to a screeching halt.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody that's been through the Great Recession already saw what was going to happen. So I had already started firing up the short sale business. I already knew that it was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody was laughing at me with the exception of like Ingryd. Ingryd was like, dude, I know he knows, like, but I mean, a lot of people, especially just your traditional agents, were like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, what are you talking about? There's no way there will ever be short sales. And I was like, you know what? You're probably right. But just in case you're wrong, keep my info. Send it over to me. I'll go ahead and handle it. I'll make sure you get paid because, you know, you've only been in the industry 4 years. You've never seen a short sale. And those same agents now, they refer me deals because they're like, dude, like, how did you know? And I'm like, because when you buy something at height of market, even just a slight adjustment, like especially for like a VA seller, an FHA down payment, something like that, it rocks their world. Like there's no solution, especially when their interest rate is 7.5%, 8%. Some of them I've seen are almost 10% on like traditional.
In Arizona, that's actually the cap. You cannot go beyond 9.99 in Arizona for mortgages. So we're not Texas yet. Texas, you can go above that, but you can't here.
Texas has no usury laws.
Can I pause you for just one moment? Sure. Andre Smith, you were so close.
So close.
Shout out to Elena Tang and Kirk Tang, our good friends out here in Arizona. We actually helped them buy their house out here in Chandler. Now they're like our neighbors. They're like a mile away. But they had 10 of these amazing Alex Hermosi books. So Andre Smith, send me, DM me on Instagram at Ingryd Hernandez. Remember with a Y, Ingryd_Hernandez. And we will send you this book. And I think what we will do is we will
we're giving them away.
We have to. We got 10
She came in with a book of 10 of these. She goes, I got 10 of these books. I thought, though, I didn't know you're giving them away. I thought you got them for yourself.
Surprise.
All right.
Oh, yeah. I need 10 of these to read them. Yeah. So, Andre, and we'll do some little giveaways like this. I've actually given away books before in the past, too, like Pace's a book and I think Steve Trang's book. But yes, absolutely. Come through, Andre. And yes, Matthew Potter said super cool. So DM me and we'll get coordinated on getting you this book. So cool.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
We're that podcast. So Matthew, obviously you have an amazing wife who still has not made me dinner, but it's okay.
Well, I'm working on that for you. I swear I am.
I swear she has like the best. Every time I'm like, why can't I be invited over? I need to have, like, she cooks so much stuff from scratch. And I'm like, what is happening here?
It's insane. I married way out of my league, and I'm forever grateful for that.
All right, cool. So you're now pivoting back. I think I have back to short sales. I think I've sent you over like what 5, 7 or so.
Somewhere around there. We've already closed. We've already closed a couple. We have several in process, and
we have a couple like we want to buy.
Yep, we're starting to see. We're starting to see a lot of them, and this is typical of, like, let's be honest, normal real estate. Everybody waits through the holidays, and then they're like, oh my God, new year, new me, new house, whatever, maybe new husband, new wife, whatever. Out of the gate this year has been absolutely insane. Every single day I get a call, a text from an agent that says, hey, this person needs a short sale. They were trying to hang on. It's not going to happen. I think so far this year we've listed 16 of them, and we're on the 8th. Like that's a lot very fast. Like it is, and it's. I think that's a testament to two things. Number one, I feel that we positioned ourselves really great in the market as that go-to trusted resource of if you need help with a short sale, come to us. I mean, Ingryd, you're part of the Arizona Real Estate Agent Forum. You've seen when somebody comments in there, need somebody for a short sale, my wife and I get tagged, I kid you not, at least 50 times. And I'm like, hi, we can help. I think that's part of it. And I think the second part of it is there's a lot of people that have been hanging on for as long as they can with whatever their situation is. And the levee is finally breaking for a lot of them. And it usually happens after the holidays. They try to keep everything together for, maybe the kids or something like that. They'll, once they're through the holiday, they'll say, all right, we need to make something happen. And I think that's what you're starting to see of, okay. And I have people I talked to 6 months ago that are now like, all right, I tried to sell it traditionally with, Joe over here. It didn't work. All right, fine. Like I'm ready to work with you. And it's like, I almost feel terrible that people resign themselves to the fact that they got to work with me. Like I always tell people when I talk to them on short sales, I'm like, nobody gets excited about having to call me and be like, yay, I get to do a short sale with Matt. Like nobody's thrilled about that. But I love being able to give that good news to somebody and be like, hey, we've been able to get your short sale approved. We got you in a good spot. We got you some relocation money out of it. You're going to be able to, start fresh and get into a better spot. And in a couple of years, you're right back in the game.
I absolutely love that. And you described your wife as somebody with peace of mind, right? Ultimate peace of mind. And that's truly, at the end of the day, that's what you're delivering for these sellers. They're coming to you, and yes, it is their last resort now. They're like, hey, nobody's thrilled to make that call, I'm sure, like you just mentioned. But at the end of the day, I'm sure at the very end of the transactions, you get nothing but thank yous and gratitude from these people because you've given them the peace of mind that it was all taken care of, and I'm going to make sure that you're okay after this.
Absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, my wife and I, our original mission statement, we still have it written in our original book of when, our corporate docs, when we created everything. Our original mission statement was people over profits. Mm-hmm. If you take care of the people, the profits will come. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. And I tell everybody this, I've made a lot of money by making a little money. And if you help enough people, they'll get you to where you want to be. They will. And when we started out our business, we were taking 1% on deals that were $20,000 deals. So think about that. That's what, $200?
$200.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'd make $200 on a deal that we worked 6 months on. And then all of a sudden, maybe we'd get a $500,000 property in Virginia from one of our broker partners out there. And we'd be like, holy crap, we're going to make $5,000 on a short sale. This is the best payday ever. But the point of that is we treated that $20,000 the same as that $500,000. And we always did. And like you said, bringing that peace of mind, I have never had somebody come back afterwards and say, damn it, I really wish I would have gone to foreclosure instead.
Yep.
Thank you for getting me through this. Yeah, it sucked. I didn't want to do it, but I'm glad I'm through it. And then 3 months later, they're like, dude, my credit score is right back where it was. And I'm like, wait a couple of years. You're qualified to finance. You can buy again. I never want to buy again. And in 3 years, they'll be like, hey, will you help me buy? And I'm like, yes, we will.
Yeah. That's what's fantastic. Absolutely.
Great lead gen in that sense. Yeah. Cause you're the person that gave them, the result. Why wouldn't they come back to you? That's so good. I didn't even think about that side of it too.
Yeah.
Because I'm not an agent. I don't have that brain.
Yeah. You'll get there. You'll get there for sure. So Maritza Howard on Instagram. And I just copied over the question. I'm never being rude on my laptop, people. I'm looking at questions and comments and stuff. So we have people following us, and we can see that number on our stream, but then there's Instagram and people following there, and you can't see that. But she wants to know, can you wholesale a short sale?
So this is what I'm going to tell you on that. The very black and white answer is no. You're not going to. The bank is always going to have some form of what's called an arm's length affidavit or an anti-fraud agreement, particularly with your government-backed loans, your FHAs, your VAs, Fannie, Freddie, things like that. I've caught heat for this from others in the industry, but again, I guess for lack of better words, I play things very vanilla when it comes to this, because at the end of the day, if you think you're going to outsmart the federal government, you're wrong. They have more money because they literally print it. And they have far more resources. Mm-hmm. Anyone that tells you that they can wholesale a short sale or that they're going to wholesale a short sale, run in the other direction. And also, if they tell you, oh, no, bank said that I can do it, they're full of shit. I guarantee you the bank did not say, we'll take less money on this deal so you can make money to an end buyer. They'll never say that. They like, if you try to wrap your head around that, it never will make sense. Like, imagine a bank being like, no, Ingryd, it's cool. You can buy it for $200 and turn around and sell it to Steven for $250. We're fine with only the $200. It'll never happen. So no. I always tell people, you have to adhere to whatever the bank's terms are. And a lot of the banks will tell you, you got to hold it for at least 30 days before you do anything with it. Like, you're closing with your own funds. Title is going in your name. You're signing attestations that there's no backdoor shenanigans or anything like that. And like, if you think that they won't investigate that, like, feel free to just go to justice.gov and look at anything that's happened in the last year. There's been 5 separate people that have gone down in the short sale industry. Steven's nodding his head because we all know who one of them is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. But there's other ones, and like, this is the thing that I'll tell you. I obviously, my finger's on the pulse much more because it's my business model and things like that. There's guys, they're going all the way back to 2014, and they're going down for loss mitigation companies and the way that they were doing things. They were actually wrecking the property to try to buy it at a lower price and defrauding the bank. And like, we're talking like attorneys and real estate brokers were involved in this and like the whole thing. And people were like, oh no, it's fine. We got a real estate attorney that's helping us on this. Look, attorneys make mistakes too, guys. Mm-hmm. That they do. And so for me, never wholesale a short sale. Buy it. You can buy it. You can renovate it. You can buy it. You can hold it. You can buy it. You can do some minimal work on it, turn around and sell it, all within the bank's parameters. And, you know, if you, like I said, if you think you're going to outsmart the bank, you're not.
Good luck. Good luck. Yeah. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, so I do have wholesalers that bring me opportunities where the only thing that we can do is short sell. And one of the things that I do want to communicate to wholesalers is, if you want to get paid on those, go get your license.
Yes.
At the end of the day, the license is what's going to allow you to get a referral on that. And I will be your buyer. I will buy short sales. We have one under contract, myself and Steven, and then we have one under contract, just myself and my husband, that we're buying because the numbers only worked with a short sale number. And so at the end of the day, like, I feel bad because I do know, for the record, I do know that wholesalers are doing the hard work, which is getting all the sellers, figuring out what their problem was. I'm going to end up doing a video of this and how I prioritize the exit for sellers. Because if you have, and I did a little mastermind here with some of the folks in sub 2 before, where I'm like, here should be your logic if you're truly in this for your seller and not for yourself.
Yes.
And it's very first line item, they should be putting their house on the market on MLS.
Yep.
If that's not possible, you got to give them a cash deal. If that's not possible, then you go creative. If that's not possible, then you go short sale. And the very last is foreclosure. Yep. So that is the prioritization of keeping the seller's best interest in mind and not yours. And I love that you say people over profit, because I feel like that's the way that we run our businesses too. It's like that stuff will work itself out with cash. But if you I think I did a reel the other day too, where it's like everybody wanted to take this young kid's house through. And by the way, a few people, and you were actually on that post, by the way, You didn't know this though. You didn't know the situation. He wasn't very clear about the situation. But surface level, short sale was really his only option.
Yeah.
His PITI was way too high for the neighborhood. And he had just bought the house, and there was nothing else that made sense unless you got on the phone and talked to them. And I did that. And I was like, hey, tell me your situation before I send you to my, my number one killer, Matthew Potter.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, well, my agent, which by the way, I don't know if he's going to go back to this agent. I did not advise him that because I would never do somebody dirty like that. But he could go back and get that agent in trouble because they never sewer scoped that house. For houses that are built in like 1980 or older, I told my husband, we will have them send a disclosure that they chose not to sewer scope.
Yeah.
They chose not to spend the $150. And if they don't want that $150, deduct it from my commission. We'll take care of it.
Yep.
But I don't think it's worth it when at the other end of that $150 is a $9,000 or more potential problem, which is what he had. He had a $12,000 problem he couldn't take care of. And I was like, buddy, what do you do for a living? He's like, I'm an engineer. I actually make pretty good money. It's just, I just bought a house. So my credit score took a dump, and I actually have roommates. So I don't pay this mortgage all by myself. It's just, I need a little bit of help right now. And I was like, I got a retirement account with EQRP, but guys, go look at my link if you want to go get one of those. But I was like, how about I lend you money? We figure out terms. You pay me that back. We'll figure it out. And you get to keep your house. Would you prefer that? He's like, oh my God. He was so relieved.
Yep.
And I was like, guys, I'm telling you, if you go digging a little deeper, find those problems and you'll do some good in the world. For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being more educated and having more tools in your tool belt across the board, it's entirely crucial. And being honest with yourself of what's the right tool for this person.
Yeah.
Because it's very easy when you're in the room with somebody that's in a vulnerable position, they need help financially, they're not thinking clearly, and you come in as the expert, especially if you're, you've been in this industry for a minute and you've gained those skill sets, you can take advantage of those people.
You really
and
could.
you should not be doing that. I worked with primarily seniors for a long time, and I constantly had to make the right call because they would tell me a number that was just too low that I knew wouldn't afford them their long-term care. And I knew their house was turnkey, ready to be put on the market. And they were ready to give it to me for 40 cents on the dollar. And I was like, I wouldn't sleep at night. I wouldn't sleep at night knowing that we made the wrong decision for you.
I understand that at such a high level. And I love that you spoke about that, Stephen, because there's times when particularly I'm a huge data nerd. I mean, it's clearly right up my alley with short sales. It's numbers. Like I remove all emotion from a situation. I remove condition. It's numbers. That's all that it is. There's times that I'll sit there and look at properties in Sun City, for example, because clearly a lot of senior citizens there. Hell, I'm gonna be there in 10 years. So start warming it up for me.
Yeah, there you go.
That being said, I'll see these houses were sold for 120 and then they're flipped for 400. And it's like, look, I'm not sitting there saying there's not a useful tool there of, being able to make a profit as an investor and solve a problem. But if you're making the profit at the demise of someone else, that you're affording them a really crappy life because of that, karma is a hell of a thing. It is. I literally just talked to my teenage daughter about something similar where I said, look, in football, we call this ball don't lie. The ball doesn't lie. It knows when there was a missed call, there's immediately a fumble or an interception or a pick six or something like that right afterwards.
Targeting ASC game.
Hey, look, we're not going to get into that.
Right. I'm just saying.
That game. But the point is, with that, there's room to make profit without just absolutely destroying or torching someone else.
Right.
When I see people that are like, oh, I want to get stuff for 10 cents on the dollar. Like I had one guy, I'm not going to mention his name, but he's, big in the investor space, that was like, I'll only buy short sales at, 20 cents on the dollar. And like, he sent us one and we were working on it. And then he just absolutely flipped his wig and like started yelling at me, started screaming at my processor. And I was like, look, as respectfully as I can put this, dude, I'm at an age where like the amount that I will put up with is razor thin. I'm like, look, I don't need your business. I'm trying to help you. And he's like, well, I want to buy this house for like $4,000. And I'm like, buddy, it's a house that's worth 600 as is. You're not going to buy it for $4,000. Like, go away. And he's like, I'm going to go to the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau and they're going to give me the approval. And I'm like, they don't have shit to do with this. So it was one of those wash my hands, part ways, not worth it. Just not worth it.
Yeah. Well, I think that kind of pulls in this question because I don't care if it's a short sale or not. And I think that might be a misnomer with short sales. Back to what Matthew is saying is, what is your investor math? It doesn't matter whether or not it's a short sale. Short sale is just a way that you may have to buy it and you might have to put more time in. We've been under contract with that one in Mesa since March
of last year,
April of last year. Yeah. That was a very, very unfortunate thing, which I actually would love to talk about because we need to understand that there's a human piece to this.
Yes.
But absolutely. But Dooman Ray, Dooman REI, I don't even look at the fact that it's a short sale. I look at what condition is it in. Because of that condition, what is going to be my rehab costs? How's the market doing? How long do I need to hold it in order to sell? Some of this is speculative, unfortunately. So I do try to be a little bit more conservative because, like, even with that property in Mesa, we haven't closed on it yet. And we've been under contract for a good 9-10 months now.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of have to play with those numbers a little. So I would say I think we put a little bit of wiggle room in there, but nothing absurd. And we're usually trying to make 40 to 50 grand
we're talking
on the flip.
10 to 20K of wiggle room in there, just in case, hey, the market pulls back an extra 5% or something, or we get a little bit more of a slowdown. We're not talking about buying it for $4,000.
Right, exactly. That is absolutely nowhere near that. And so I still just do my math as a normal flip. Like, hey, market sells here, my rehab here, I want to profit 40 to 50K. Here's my holding costs. Boom, there's my buy number. That's it.
Yep.
It doesn't matter that's a short sell.
You nailed it. Like, look at it like any other property, whether you're direct to seller, whether it's on the MLS, whether it's a property that you're buying from a wholesaler, anything like that, or any combination of those. You literally just have to look at it. What are your numbers? What makes sense? And then from there, does it make sense on the bank side? And like, the bank's always going to do their valuation and they're going to come back. And, I'll be honest with you. Some of the valuations that I've gotten are absolute garbage. Like, look, you're not going to hit a home run every single time. It's not going to happen. I've had other ones where, based off of, like Ingryd said, what the market is doing, things like that, they've been pretty spot on. I mean, I just got one back today where, and this goes to my issue of people not being able to read or interpret data. I get an appraisal back on one of our properties where they want, I think, 328 on it. 328 completely fixed up on the market. Yes, reasonable on this property. 328 in the condition that it's in, absolutely terrible. It's a horrible appraisal. The guy's like, we want 328. And I'm like, look at your own notes on your own appraisal. It says that the bathroom needs to be fixed and the estimated cost to remedy is $25,000. So take 25 from 328. We're now at 303. We're getting closer to where we should be. Like, that in and of itself. And then by the time you're done kind of running your numbers backwards, like, we're probably about 10K off on that offer being actually acceptable to the bank.
Yeah.
So like, those are things and considerations. Like I said, everybody always asks me, what percentage of ARV? The bank doesn't care. It's based off of as is. And, I've had investors that have bought properties. They put a little bit of work into them, turned around, sold them, made a quick 20, 30K here. I've had other ones do full extensive remodels. They'll make 50, 60K. And, let's talk about the elephant in the room with actually investing. I've had people buy properties, They renovate them, and guess what? They don't make any money. They lose money. That does happen in investing. It does.
It's supposed to, actually.
Yeah.
Because if it doesn't happen, you're not involved in a
ethical
industry
way of
with
doing this.
No, not ethical. You're not in an industry that carries any risk. So in order for you to actually make money, it's not a sum. What's that called? A sum equals whatever. I can't remember right now. I'm not American. Well, I am American now. I didn't grow up.
There you go. Hey.
But you have to have the losers, unfortunately, in an industry where you expect to make money.
Yep.
Because the risk is what makes it profitable.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, that's the aspect of it.
And, even to the microscopic level for me, and like, this is one thing, like, people are always floored when I say this. I've been involved in all of these short sale transactions, a bunch of them, right? Guess how many of the short sales that I've worked on have I ever actually bought?
Is it 0?
It's 0. I've never bought one of them. You want to know why?
Because you're not allowed to.
Bingo. At the end of the day, it's not that I'm not allowed to. I probably could. But guess what? Every time I read one of these, 3 real estate brokers and a real estate attorney in New Jersey are facing federal charges for 30 years for conspiring and blah, 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 blah. It's not worth it. And the thing is, to the point of making money, losing money, things like that, guess what? I also lose a lot of money on listing short sales. You want to know how? I put time, effort into it. I have employees that time, effort has been put into it. Even just pictures, sign, and lockbox being ordered. Every time I do that on one of these damn properties, it's $300.
Yep.
And guess what? Sometimes with where these properties are, sometimes
cost a little more.
So sometimes it'll cost a little bit more. Also, sometimes my sign will go for a walk in the middle of the night. And all of a sudden, whoops, there we go. So now I've just lost the sign as well. So like, those are all things to, take into account as well. Of, look, sometimes you're gonna lose money. It's a cost of investing. I look at it as an investment in people on my side of the agency relationship and relationship with others. And then also the relationship with that seller, because if they know that I at least did everything that I could, they're generally going to say, hey, you know what? Thanks so much for doing that.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, on the investing side too, the way I've always looked at it is every year, for every 10 deals I do, I usually expect to have at least one loss, whether that's a minimal loss or a big loss, whatever it is. We did roughly 10 flips together last year, Ingryd and I did. And I think we might take a loss on one.
Our first one,
Our first one coming up here. And that's a part of the game. We have had nothing but great profitable deals. That's awesome. But there's also these moments to remind you that not everything goes according to plan every single time.
Absolutely. Matthew, if you have a buyer in Litchfield Park, 4-bedroom, 2-bath, beautiful renewed pool, beautiful counter, family room, living room. I mean, it owned solar. You don't even have to pay for the solar. Boys and girls.
It's below all the other comps.
It's below the comps. Come on,
it's
guys.
More updated than all of them.
What
doesn't it have? That's what I want to know.
I know, right? A butler. But if you guys know anybody, come through. Slide into Steven's or mine's DM, and we will make sure you do well on that house. But yes,
there you go.
By. Yeah.
I'll see what I can do on my side.
All right, I appreciate that. One thing that anybody coming to renewal on their ability to get financing, I mean, we will help them through that process if that's the case.
There you go.
One thing I was going to mention is the cost of doing business. So obviously you have a support staff, right?
Yep.
So Money Diary, because they don't like to use their real name, says, hi, Ingryd and Matthew. I've experience in performing short sales and TCing. I'm launching my own business. How can I learn more from y'all and help out on projects? Done this for 3 years.
I mean, the biggest thing on my side, if I'm being completely honest right now, is especially in light of recent things in the industry, I'm keeping things extremely tight on my side. If you're not licensed and you're not with me, particularly at my brokerage, the likelihood that I'm going to be able to have you on staff is extremely slim. And that's not me trying to recruit people. That's not me trying to say, hey, you got to roll with me and nobody else. Like, I don't care. The reality is I just have to be able to hold people accountable. Like, that's the other thing. There's a lot of accountability on this side of the business from the aspect of, if somebody, even if they're under you, if one person makes one wrong step, it doesn't matter. My name's on the third-party authorization. My wife's name's on the third-party authorization. I'm on, especially my listings, and this is one of the number one reasons why in Arizona, I don't process people's short sales here. Like, I've had a couple agents that are like, absolutely not. I want to list the property. I'm like, go knock yourself out. You go be the liability to your seller rather than me be the liability. It's about that accountability, because at the end of the day, if something is done wrong, I want to be able to identify it immediately on my side rather than, it's off, over here or, way back there, something that's affiliated with me, but not affiliated with me. Because I feel like when you don't have your finger on the pulse, specifically when you're dealing with people's financial situations, you can end up in a really bad spot. I mean, like I said, go ahead and read about fake contracts going all over the place just because nobody's paying attention. Like, nobody's minding the hen house. And all of a sudden you got, hello, this is FHA and VA and DOJ and the whole alphabet army. Nobody wants the alphabet army showing up at their place of business. They don't. I certainly don't.
Absolutely. So one thing I will call out to wholesalers out there, the way that you can act, there's two things. There's two messages I hope that you go out with. If you were not able to go through the whole process of, okay, I can't do MLS, we can't do cash, we can't give them like a small loan, we can't go creative. The only option is short sale before we get to foreclosure. I highly recommend, I understand, first of all, I understand that you put in a lot of work and you're not going to get paid for it. But I recommend that you still do right by the seller and send them off to Matthew Potter to get that short sale done. Absolutely. And if they're in the state of Arizona, I'd love to be the buyer. And one of the things that we can do is I could JV with you and we could figure out a way for us to flip that house together. Like, that's an option. So like, that would be a way for you to still make some margin without actually wholesaling the deal and leverage people like myself or Steven. Again, he flips in Arizona too. So you would have that option once we vet you. Obviously, we want to make sure that's still a good marriage and what could that look like when we're flipping. But that's a way for you to still help the seller and still get that deal across. Would you agree with that, Matthew?
Yeah. And I have, and this is, I love that you just touched on that, because it's the hardest conversation that I have to have with many wholesalers, because a lot of wholesalers will reach out to me and it's difficult, but it's also one of those, this is the way that I always try to show it to them or explain it to them. Look, I'm not discounting that you put in all that work. Like any lead or any situation, even handing it over to me, it's a 50-50 shot. It's either going to go or it's not going to go. Like there's your simple mathematical equation on that.
That's very, that's very fair to say. Mm-hmm.
But the other aspect of it is, I'm a firm believer, and I've seen this. I'm sure, Steven, you've seen it. Ingryd, I know you've seen it. When you do right by a seller and you put them in the right hands of somebody that can, get them a solution, it comes back to you tenfold in your business in other ways. It does. You will, all of a sudden, you will have a seller that you've been talking to for 6 months that calls you and says, all right, I'm ready to sell. Steven, I'll sell this house to you at $400,000, which was your original price that you wanted to offer them. And you're like, what the hell? Like, where did this come from? Mm-hmm. It's just the way that, I guess, karma, for lack of better words, works in this world. And people all the time will be like, oh my God, I just actually got this other business. I just got, this new lead and this new buyer, and, we just locked up this new contract. And I'm like, good. I'm glad to hear that, you guys have done that.
Well, and if we take it all the way back exactly to what you're saying, Matthew, as well, but in the very beginning of this podcast, something that we mentioned was this business is all about relationships as well. So if I'm in a situation and I'm showing that I'm doing the right thing and I'm bringing that lead over to Matthew, I can also ask Matthew in that same conversation, hey, unfortunately, I was working on this really hard, blah, blah, blah. Do you know any other agents that might work with distressed properties that aren't going through the short sale process right now? Could you help me make maybe a couple introductions? Turn it into a lead source for yourself. I was getting my leads from senior living previously before, like I mentioned, and to me, I would look at a situation. I'm like, okay, they have a turnkey house. I could eat off the floors. They've taken such good care of this place. I'm not going to give them a lowball offer. Timing is not an issue for them. They have the opportunity to put this on the market. Let me go build a relationship with an agent like Ingryd or Mark Hernandez and say, hey, would you guys be open to listing this property and do it at a discount actually? And that way I can also take that same information to my lead source, which was the senior community or the hospital, to show that I did the right thing and I helped this person to my full potential. And now I've built a further relationship with the Hernandezes. I built a further relationship with my lead source. It doesn't mean that it all went to nothing. It's going to something, you guys.
It's going towards building your future business. It's that simple. Like it really is. And it is such a powerful thing. I mean, like I said, I used to have people that were like, look, the short sale is only $10,000. Are you sure you want to take it on? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care. Like I'm totally fine with it. They're like, you're only going to make like $100 on it. I'm like, does not matter. Like it doesn't. And we would get them done. And the bank would end up netting like $4,000 on a $10,000 short sale. But the seller all of a sudden would be in one of the, they'd be in a great position. One of my best clients that I have in traditional real estate today is from a property I helped them sell in Maricopa back in 2009 for like, God, I want to say it was 50 grand. And it was like a 3,200 square foot house. Like it was just the state of the market. They have since then, just between them and immediate family members and referrals that they've referred to me, I've sold, and this is an exaggeration, I've sold over $35 million from them.
Wow.
From that one person I took care of.
Yeah. Imagine. Wow. That's so awesome. I love that
That's such a good story.
Maritza, I want to maybe clear up some confusion. So there's some steps that Matthew has to take to list the short sale. He has to list the short sale. It's part of the short sale requirement. But when you bring him that lead, you can say, hey, I'm interested in also putting in a bid for when you list this. Can I do that? So that he can take that bid and potentially it may or may not be accepted as an offer. So Matthew, what he does is he has to list it because the bank requires him to list it. It needs to go to the open market, and then he takes offer on those properties. He takes that offer, and I'm you know what? I'm Ingrid explaining. Go ahead, Matthew. This is your business.
Hey, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Ingrid's doing a great job explaining. Yeah. She is. So yes, so that there's like full clarification on this, because a lot of people don't completely understand this, and sometimes people get frustrated. When you have a short sale seller and you need to do the process, yes, you have to list their property on the open market. You have to. Some of their loan types actually require it be on the market a full 15 days before you even accept an offer. And, people get frustrated and they're like, oh, I don't want to do that and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, look, I understand what you don't want to do. I'm telling you what we have to do. Like there's no exception to this. So you have to do that part of the process. Then you can take the bids. All right, hey, boom, we'll go ahead and take it to the bank. The bank is going to do their valuation and they're going to determine what terms are going to be acceptable to them. Sometimes banks are very, very realistic with things, and they'll look at stuff and be like, dude, this property is in rough condition. It's not going to pass traditional financing of conventional FHA, VA, USDA. We know it's going to be cash or hard money or, something like that only. So we're willing to take a little bit more of a discount, and we want to go with a cash buyer over a finance buyer. And then there's also the flip side of that, where it's, look, we want full retail, a full retail buyer. They may still get a decent deal. I mean, I do a lot of short sales down in Maricopa. I feel like I'm picking on Maricopa today, but I do a ton of short sales in Maricopa because it rose really fast and it softened very quickly. There's a lot of people that are underwater in Maricopa. Most of the homes down there, particularly the ones that we're doing short sales on, most of them are going to go to retail buyers. I already know that because to your point, Stephen, they're fully like they're ready, like they're brand new, a year old, nothing wrong with them. And it's like an investor doesn't have a place in that deal, like, and that's, it just is what it is. I have other ones that have been vacant for 14 years and are falling apart. That's a perfect property for an investor, not for, first time home buyer. And like,
Right.
On the flip side of that, while investors get mad at the first equation, first time home buyers get mad that they can't go get the fixer upper. They're like, we want the fixer upper. And I'm like, it doesn't work that way with your FHA down payment assistance loan. I can promise you it doesn't.
Oh,
yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Well, on that same topic too, because I do love the short sales. What are your thoughts, Matthew, when it comes to some of the other strategies that people are trying to help sellers with, like the subject to types of transactions where people are coming in and trying to catch up arrears? Me and Ingrid both have, I wouldn't say they're like opposite views, but we have a little bit differentiating views. I think you have a little bit more risk tolerance than I do, is truly what I think it comes down to. I get freaked out over them. I've had a couple of them. We hold one together actually. And I only decided to hold that one is because we were together and I have trust in you and that you know how to handle all these situations.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of investors and a lot of people out there that might not.
Yeah. And I will say that the reason we bought that sub 2 is because, your property management company said that's one of the best performing zip codes for short-term rentals. It'll perform. And so I'm like, okay, it'll perform. Don't really have to pay very much. So, it makes sense. And because we were doing it together, we're like, okay, if we had to pay this mortgage, would it bankrupt us?
No.
Like, no, we could go halvesies on that. So that was really our assessment of it. And by the way, the house was in turnkey condition, other than some minor little bitty things like needed to rehang a door, put the piping for like, what was it? The sink in the bathroom, but that's nothing crazy.
Like
it had a new AC, a new roof, a new paint job, like everything. It was
floors,
beautiful.
cabinets,
I was like, okay. Yeah.
It's not half of the house is missing and you got to rebuild it or something like that. Like those are the ones where it's like, maybe we need to rethink the exit strategy on how this is going to work. So to your point, Stephen, sub 2 and short sales are kind of polar opposites, if we're being completely honest. They really are. I've always stayed in my lane with short sales. I'll be honest. I understand subject to transactions. Here's the one thing that I'll say. Ingryd already knows this because she's already seen this. I think what happens sometimes, and I think this happens with everybody, whether you're a traditional realtor, an investor, you're subject to or whatever. Sometimes people try to force things that don't need to be forced. And it's, I'll see people post great subject to opportunity, 8.5% interest rate, 400,000 entry fee, and long-term rent rates are 2,000, and your PITI is 84,000 a month. And I'm like, really? Like, you think that's a good idea? Because it's not. Like, let's be honest, it's not. And the one thing that I'm really starting to see now and realize now, and I think, like I said, I won't speak for Ingryd, but I know Ingryd has said
I've commented that. I was like, hey, you're learning sub 2, which is a hammer, and everything now looks like a nail to you when really it's a screw. Like, you should send the screwdriver over there, Mr. Matthew Potter. Right.
And like, for example, I have a lot of this happening right now, which I think is a sign, to your point, Ingryd, know the right tools in your toolbox. I'm getting a lot of people that are coming to me. Hey, look, I took over this house sub 2. I screwed the pooch. I haven't made the mortgage payment in 5 months.
Oy.
The homeowner's in foreclosure. What do we do? How do we get them out of it? And I'm like, well, deed it back to the homeowner. We'll do a short sale with the homeowner. And I'm currently doing one that Ingryd had sent to me where she was like, look, she's like, you need to step in on this here in Phoenix. But I'm starting to do them in a lot more markets: Texas, Georgia, Florida, Carolinas, kind of your places you would expect. Vegas, there's another one. I think, like I said, I don't feel that subject to is a situation, or I don't feel that it's something that everybody in the investment space should technically do. And like, that's not a knock on certain investors or anything like that. I just feel that there's a lot more complication in it than is maybe sometimes led to believe. And I feel like people think that they're just going to go get, 100 properties sub 2, and they're going to live off that for the rest of their life. And everything's going to be hunky dory. There's never going to be repairs on a property. Taxes and insurance will never go up. I mean, that's silly. Why would taxes and insurance have to go up? Those things right there. Hold on, bud. Dad's on a podcast. My buddy, my son just came in.
Awesome.
Hi, bud. I'll be downstairs in a minute, okay? So, like I said, to that point, I think, me, I'm probably aligned a little bit more from the aspect, like you said, Stephen, I'm more risk adverse to it, especially considering the fact I've operated in a space for 18 years where it's very mother may I. It's, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I do this? Like with the banks versus, oh, okay, yeah, this will probably fly. Like for me, my biggest thing is what probably could fly might fly my ass right to federal prison on a short sale. So I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm going to just hang tight and do things, the way that I know is written right there in that black and white. So
Love
it. Yeah, for sure.
But to that point, I think that both of them complement each other really well. Even though they're kind of polar opposites, they complement each other really well because like Ingryd has seen and she's had success with and many others. Okay, creative clearly doesn't work on this. All right, flip it over to a short sale. Like it's like a waterfall. It's like, boop, okay, this doesn't work. All right, this will work. And like that's the other thing. Like sub 2 is not the end all. There's sub 2, there's seller finance, there's hybrids, and there's all different types of things that are out there that can be done. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, on my side, it's like, oh, okay, I'm the real estate garbage disposal. Everything gets fed down to me, and then it's like short sale, foreclosure. That's it. Like once you've landed on my desk, there's really not a whole lot of options left unless you win the lottery.
Yeah. Well, I know that we've taken more of the time than we expected. We really do appreciate it. And you are definitely a huge, we're huge fans of you here. And so we would love to have you regularly just because I do love that you do keep the pulse on the market. Yes, you are the shorts. Let's clarify, how many short sales have you, we'll include Nicole, processed? What number are you at now?
We're over 19,000. We're creeping really close to 20. We'll be at 20, I would say probably by, I think April, maybe May, based on our current trajectory. Obviously, anything can happen. It's one of those things, a lot of people are like, oh my gosh. I'm like, remember from 07 to 13, I slept 4 hours a day for like literally, like I'm not kidding, 6 years. Like that's how much. There were times our pipelines were like 1,000 or 1,500 deals. And it was just, that's literally all we did. Like I consumed way more Monster than any human being should for a 6-year period where my wife was like, you're going to die and I need you in this business. So stop drinking so much. I was like, yes, ma'am.
So, that's so funny. I made Mark stop drinking Monsters too.
My wife was trying to make me.
Really?
Hey, you know what?
I'm
gonna tell you this: you will feel great when you stop. I'm just letting you know. You really will feel great. But
I know.
I also understand it. Like I traded that, and then I, as he drinks his Monster, I traded that, and then I started drinking like 3 pots of coffee a day, which is probably just as bad, if not worse.
Sounds
so
like
I've now.
I'm telling you, you and Mark are so similar. It's ridiculous.
We are. We're literally twins. Yesterday on the family tree call, we were sitting there and we were joking around and we were talking about social media posts, and it was the one where he was chuckling at what I had commented.
Right.
And I was like, your wife says that we're dang near brothers at this point. He's like, as soon as I saw it, he's like, I died laughing. He's like, it's something that I would say 100%.
Yes,
I'm like,
100%.
When you got a good marriage, man, what do you want from me?
Yeah. Cool. Well, Matthew, if people need to get a hold of you in order to help these sellers and get these deals done, where should they reach out?
I always say 2 places. Hit me up on Instagram. I'm maxed out on Facebook. Occasionally, some people leave, whatever. I accept friend requests, but I guess if you want to follow me on Facebook, I am pretty active there. At Matthew Potter Realtor on Instagram. And then if you run into a short sale and you want to see, or maybe a short sale situation and you want to see if it would work, go ahead and submit it at phoenixshortsale.com. That's for all 50 states. We do them in all 50. You can go ahead and submit a lead there. It immediately comes into my inbox and Bailey's, and we go ahead and respond immediately and go ahead and see what we can do to help you and the seller out.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Matthew. We love you. We've known each other for way too long, but we don't hang out enough.
We don't. Literally, Mark said the same thing. And I was like, look, it's really not that I'm rude. It's business. And then the next thing I know, it's 9 p.m. and I'm like, crap, I got to go to sleep. It's just the way that it is. So we'll work on that in 25. And like I said, anytime you guys want to invite me on or anything like that, I'm here to help. Would love to provide any kind of insight or help that I can to anybody.
Yeah, super.
So good.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Matthew. Anyways, why don't you lead us off?
Well, yeah. What you got going on? Anything you got going on, Matthew? I do have some going on I want to talk about. Anything coming on the next week or two you might want to let the audience know?
Nothing major on my side. Just same old stuff, different day. List a short sale, sell a short sale. That's all I'm trying to do.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, myself and Jeremy Demmer are going to go live. We haven't even done like the thumbnail. I've been so busy this week. It's been crazy. Like everybody turned on the week and it's like been slammed.
I know.
I think I had like 5 or 6 sub-2 contracts I got to put together and send out. But tomorrow, Jeremy Demers and I are going to go over some of the fundamentals of real estate loans, like being an investor, like what are DSCRs, like you've done like your first position HELOCs, like stuff like that. So we're not quite sure yet. We're thinking we're gonna do like lunchtime on Thursdays. Would love the people's feedback, would love your feedback. And so we're gonna go over some fundamentals. So my husband just got his mortgage loan officer's license. We're working with Jeremy, and because I don't mind being in front of the camera, my husband not so much, I'm like, okay, I got to be that person for you. And so I'll be the dumb investor who doesn't know what she's doing. And then Jeremy will be the expert guy who's been doing loans for a while. And we'll be asking questions, or I'll be asking questions, some very genuine that I don't know, that he'll be telling me. And so we're going to try to do kind of like a lender series of questions that get asked over and over and over again, so that we can just have those clones out there for us. But yeah, that's what's happening tomorrow.
Fantastic.
I believe at 12 to 1 here on my YouTube channel. So how about you? You took down a couple of flips, no?
Yeah, went and walked a flip, got messaged right as I was walking out the door yesterday. And I said, can I just drive there right now with my daughter? And they said, we'll be there. And so I showed up and I said, yep, this is the one. I'll take it. Yeah. I said, can you do it for 10K less? They said, we can do 5K less. And I was like, all right.
Right on.
I'll take it where I can get it.
Fantastic. Well, guys, but every Wednesday, other than if it's the good Lord's birthday, like Christmas, we are here from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Arizona time on our respective YouTube channels. And again, we would love to have you back, Matthew.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Yeah. All right on. Well,
awesome.
Thanks for joining, guys. See you next week.